Get ready for the true debate about what innovation really looks like and what we expect from ourselves and from people. And then give me the answers on how I devolve that kind of funding, because we've tried different models. Yeah, we're doing things like whānau ora. We are doing things like the community response model. We started it with that community response fund, where we put, sort of $100 million in and said communities will decide how that is spent for the increase in demand and a decrease in funding that's coming from outside of government. Yeah, and we saw communities respond to that really quickly and really well, and quite frankly it's been the success of it's been quite incredible from our perspective. Yeah, I've been more than happy to stand up and take full responsibility for all decisions that were made within it, and yet I've not been involved in one of them. Yeah, but I just had that much confidence that communities for themselves would decide exactly what they needed to do. So then what I did was I tried to take it to the next level and did this community response model and said we won't just put some new money in, we're actually going to put some of the old money in as well, so the current spend, and transparency is a big part of it. So when you looked at contract mapping, how many of you have gone in and looked at contract mapping? If you haven't looked at contract mapping, it should be one of the best tools, and it should constantly be moving to give transparency. But the community response model hasn't worked the same. So we are now nearly a year in, and it hasn't worked the same. And I think that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are a year in, and I wish it had worked perfectly and I wish it had worked better. But actually, when you take innovation and you step things out and you try and do things differently, as long as you're doing no harm, sometimes you need to look back at it and go, and I think that's actually what I stand up and say is a strength of a leader, is when you look back and go, right, what have we got right with it? What have we got wrong? What do we need to change? How do we need to move it? And we do need to move it because we haven't spent any of the quality and innovation fund that's sitting there. And we are still doing more of the conversation around what needs to happen. So how local is local? Yeah? Do you want it in your town? Do you want it in your street? How are you going to choose the organisations within that deliver? It was quite, why the Community Response Fund worked so well? Right people on it, but they were giving out money. Yeah? That's easy. Without being rude. The hardest stuff is how do we look at each other and how do we actually get it? Carl sort of touched on it, and we've sort of talked, I heard a bit about it upstairs and that sort of thing. So where do you go for best practice in working with youth? Yeah. If you're actually going to roll something out, what would you roll out? How do you value a qualification? What is that qualification? Where is the leadership? Yeah. So I sit there and have I thought about this one a bit and put some people together. I could design you something, and I could actually even build you another little creation that does it, but it's government-led. You aren't going to trust it. To be fair, that's not where you're going to go for the best advice and the knowledge base and where everything's kind of held and give me some help on how I improve my program and that sort of stuff. So it has to come independently, with us looking quite differently at how we might actually be part of that, but not actually absolutely design it and run it and control it. How does government give away that control and yet still take the responsibility that you all as taxpayers actually expect of us, and you should? Yeah. How do we, and so when I say get ready for controversy, I mean get ready for controversy. Yeah? Should we be money managing more people that are on benefits? So should we be taking their weekly benefit off them, and whether it's iwi, whether it's another non-government organisation, whether it's government itself, should we be managing the money for a group of people, however big or small that might be, and actually saying that we will move them towards. Where's the innovation on we'll take a place like Tamaki, yeah, where actually we've been working for about 11 or 12 years on what everyone tells me is so innovative, and and we're doing up the state houses there, and I'm sure some of you have probably been on the board there, and you've doing right there. I don't mean to undermine that, but where's the knock on our door saying we will take the benefits, we will actually pay them for a while, we will guarantee that X amount of people will be in training if you give us X amount of money, and if they say $5,000 each within 5 years, we want you to sell them their bloody house at below market price and guarantee their loan with a bank. Where is the true innovation? So how do you actually stop intergenerational poverty? How do you stop? It is by ownership. It's by a real education with a real job that leads to you actually owning something and caring about it and then bringing other people in. So until we start challenging our banks to lend to our people differently, until we start thinking about how we use land differently and how we can actually build on it, how Māori can actually take what is a fantastic resource. When I said to Jean, how on earth did you do this? She says, Paula, I've got land and I've got people. Yeah, I've got land and I've got people. And when I looked at that, and she said, I've got some of the brightest, most innovative, most exciting young people. So look at what I could do with that. What a basis to start from. Yeah? So when you think about that, where is that innovation? We are a government that's ready to be pushed, We are a government that is ready to do things a little bit differently, and we are a government that's ready to share responsibility on this sort of stuff. But it's going to take a combination of that, that sort of obligation and innovation. Some of the stuff I saw overseas did excite me. So, we had some families over there that took a year doing I hate that financial literacy, but, that whole money management, how to look after themselves, how to get themselves back into a more positive situation. And then they grasp that it is the next job, and that bit of training gets me towards it. And that means I make sure my kids stay in school, and on went the light. Then the second year they saved literally $20 a week. And the mum said, just put in an account that I can't get to, and we'll do that $20 a week. And then by the third year it was up to sort of 40, and then of course they had a savings record and banks were willing to back them, and just that sort of stuff is exciting. And unless we start thinking about it all really differently, we are going to keep having successes, because quite frankly most of you do get them, and we get them, but it's going to have to be a little bit adventurous and a bit outside of that box. So I say bring on the debate this year, and I'm a bit sick of waiting for it, so I'm going to lead it. So you will see a true debate in the Green Paper on children. How much of your privacy are you prepared to give up? What are you going to do when I make a mistake and I go into someone's lives who we shouldn't? So how much are we as the public willing to kind of do that sort of stuff? And change most certainly has to come from government itself. So we have to lead the way, we have to be courageous, we have to be willing to. And I am more than willing to be challenged on it. So out of this, which is where we get to. So I'm going to ask the Commission to give me a report, so I would love to see a report. I thought I was sitting there, I thought my challenge is going to be it should be no more than 10 pages. It should be, we've got to start getting smarter in what we're doing, and that it really is biteable and that we're actually doing off. Then and I heard some great stuff upstairs and some small things that, I'm not going to tell the Commission, but I thought there were some really good things there I thought they could do quite quickly, like help people with how to use social media better to connect to families, and, so some of that sort of stuff I was hearing upstairs, and I thought, goodness, you've got the resources, you've got the sort of massive expertise within the organisation to do that sort of stuff. And then we need to start challenging on. There was nothing I've disagreed with. Nothing. It's time to get to the how. And just recognise how do we do it by still acknowledging that it's me that has to stand up there and be accountable for that spend. So I spend $680 million in contracting to non-government organisations a year. I spend $680 million. It has been quite a stressful budget. Bring on next week, and I'm sure that we've just got that one really right, so everyone relax, it's okay. But that is a massive undertaking, and I should be responsible for that. But to be responsible and then still devolve that money and that power and that give that back to your communities and get the right decisions and then be able to stand up and be accountable, tell me how. I'm trying a few things, trying it with whānau, trying it with the community response model, trying it with some social sector pilots we're doing around youth, trialling it with some bigger organisations that we're trying to sort of move around differently. But I'm ready to stand up and try something else. So, thank you, and sincerely thank you. Thanks for your time and your effort today, which I know Carl will think but I do actually appreciate what you bring to the table. It's quite interesting because I'm a control freak, I'm told, on pretty much a daily basis, by family, by friends, and by staff, and by the Prime Minister, actually, for that matter. So I am a control freak, and you don't kind of get to this sort of job without being a bit of a control freak. But I equally believe in flexibility and not telling someone how to do something. As a consequence of that, I get great things. Yeah? And as a consequence of that, I sometimes get not so great things. Because sometimes, we're all different personalities. Some people go, I need direction. I need you to tell me 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to get here. I'm going to end on one thing, because what was interesting was when you sort of talked about the education and the best practice and what that framework is. I challenge you all that we actually know how we make sustainable changes in families. Yeah, we do know. We don't need another bloody, whole frickin' exercise on that. It's the relationship that you have locally with the right supervision for that worker in the right organisation, yeah? And that equals sustainable positive change. Sometimes it can happen quicker than others, but it's all about the relationship of the person that's on the ground, whom they have looking after them, keeping them in the best frame of mind that they can get advice from, that they can work with, and an organisation that is strong and sustainable and innovative and growing and yet safe, and that then equals the focus on that family. We know that. So we don't actually have to go and reinvent that stuff. What we need to work on is that capacity. What we need to work on is how we do more of that in the right places with the right people. Thank you all very much for seeing me today.